Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, I'm going to be talking about basically the truth about lying. Haven't been on this channel in a while, so letting you guys know I'm back for right now, and I'm going to, you got this video here. And anyway, the thing I want to talk about as far as lying goes, the first thing is when we, tell a lie, people say it. I mean, it's another word for prevarication or fabrication, telling a falsehood. And really, I mean, generally speaking, lying is something that most of us are not going to condone or put up with. I'm a believer. Many of you have seen me on my astrology video channel. And I mean, my philosophy basically incorporates astrology and religion, the Bible. I do believe that the stars were put there for reasons, and I think astrology has something to do with it. And the point I'm making is, in biblically, if anyone is a believer, they believe in that supreme being, they believe in God, they going to believe that. I mean, there's really no reason to lie to somebody or lie about something, that all falsehoods are basically viewed and perceived in the same manner biblically. But the thing about it is, though, I think in some cases, isolated cases, you can make it where it's justified, and I'm going to explain some. And really, I mean, one example can be, how the truth hurts. Now, sometimes we have to tell somebody the veritable truth, and somebody passes away that's dear to somebody, they have a loved one that's been murdered. I mean, they naturally have a right to know, and that kind of news, of course, could be very devastating to somebody, but they still have to know about it. But there's certain things like where hurting someone's feelings is something I'm not really about. And it's really hard to tell somebody the truth in instances which could really cause somebody to be that emotionally upset and hurt that person inside. And I mean, an example could be, well, I mean, you're talking about, say you have a child, or there's some child somewhere that says face is disfigured for life. They don't have really any strong outward attractiveness. What are you really going to say if that child were to say, ask you hypothetically, what do you think of me? Am I attractive or not? I mean, what are you going to tell that child, that he or she is ugly? I mean, I don't think so. I don't think I'd have it in me to do that. And really, the thing about it is, or if a person is born with some kind of, with their mental faculties are not normal, or at the at least average level that they should be, or what have you. If somebody's born, say through their mental, somebody is succumbed, mental retardation or something. And if that person were to ask you and inquire about his or her intellect and what did you think of it, well, what are you gonna, I mean, what could you really say to that person? Do you just, I mean, you're gonna go off on a tangent and change the subject, or I mean, could you really tell them the honest truth in that situation? I don't, I mean, to me, it's not conceivable really to do that, because you don't really want to hurt the person. So, and I mean, there are examples where it's very difficult to be honest and veracious. There's one movie that comes to mind when I think about issues with telling the truth and lying, and really, this movie really touched me. And anyone, the movie is entitled The Majestic. A number of you may have seen it. It starred Jim Carrey. And funny thing about that movie is that, according to Wikipedia.org, seemed to get a lot of negative reviews out there. And I really thought the movie was phenomenal. I thought it was a great job by Jim Carrey. I think a lot of the negative reviews on it may have had something to do with the fact, at least on a subconscious level with a number of the critics, that many of them may have been accustomed and acclimated to Jim Carrey being in more comedic roles. And the fact is, this was one of a very serious nature, and I think a lot of people just were not used to seeing him in that role. But when I watched the movie, it didn't matter to me. I loved it. I thought that he did a great, stellar job in the movie, and I recommend anybody to see it. But going back to how this has to do with lying and telling the truth, well, in the movie, Jim Carrey he basically pretends to be somebody that was maybe somewhat of a legend or heroic to the community, because what it is the people had apparently lost somebody that they love in that community or town or what have you, that they lost for some time. And when they saw that Jim Carrey, they looked at him, they thought he was that person, that hero or legend that had apparently had dissipated into thin air for some time, and they thought that was actually that guy coming back to the community, but it really wasn't. It was another character that Jim Carrey had been playing. But what happened was Jim Carrey decided to perpetuate, I guess you could say, that lie, so to speak, in order to appease the community and bring hope for them and make them happy. And the thing about that too, you look at a situation like that, people, and I mean, that is a story. I mean, yes, technically, I mean, it was about a lie. He lived a lie in that movie. But is it something we could really despise or truly hate? I know I sure can't. I mean, I love that. I mean, that's a story, the way I perceive that, of strong self-sacrifice. And that is something, how many people could actually, I mean, I understand it's fantastical and this is a fictional, I mean, this is a movie, and in real life, I mean, the reality is, I understand people that no one would probably be able to perpetuate a lie for that period of time in real life that they could in that movie, because people would figure out that he was basically an imposter sooner than later in real life. But the fact is, let's say hypothetically that someone had an opportunity to do that, and they could do that for a prolonged and extensive period. How many out there of you do you think you would actually be able to go through with something like that? I don't know if I could. Interestingly enough, I mean, I'm going to go off on an astrological tangent here, but Jim Carrey has a Gemini moon in real life, and I've talked about previously in other videos that, my astrology videos, that I do believe actors and actresses can, at least on a subconscious level, be drawn to movies that correspond or correlate with their astrological energies. I think that movie was no exception. I mean, Jim Carrey basically played a dual role in a way in that movie, because he really was one person, but he was portraying another in a movie to appease and pacify that community. So to me, I mean, that is just unbelievable. And I think we really, we have to be careful and make sure, we draw the line accordingly when it comes to being veracious and being honest to the point where we might hurt someone's feelings, or really are we going to, or sometimes we can kind of skirt the truth a little bit, because we don't, out of compassion and out of kindness, and not and really out of sympathy, we don't want to necessarily hurt someone's feelings and be overly derisive towards someone when they don't deserve to maybe hear something. It's one thing if you're actually being critiqued or analyzed, and it's something like, say for example, job related, and they have to tell you if you did an abhorrent job or something, or your interview didn't go stellar, then you're going to know about it, and you didn't get the job, or your work performance was not good. Certain things have to be spoken with that veritable truth. But going back to that movie again with the Majestic starring Jim Carrey, it's funny, him having a Gemini moon, Gemini energy can often be about maybe saying what others want to hear, as opposed to really maybe saying what in the opposite sign, the Sagittarius, veritable veracious truth, which could sometimes downright demoralize others. So I think I think it really showed there in real life too. Jim Carrey, I believe, has a Scorpio ascendant, so you see that kind of compassionate energy coming out in that movie as well from him. So So obviously a little bit more compassionate than the typical Capricorn sun, which she has. So anyway, that's basically what I wanted to really talk about as far as my thoughts about lines. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube segment. And until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.